Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, welcome to Sketchbook Sunday, and I am going to start out by apologizing that I have not been around very much, and that's due to a number of circumstances, whether it was, first shot woes or, various obligations. So, sorry about that. I wish I could have been here, and I know that I've been on and off a lot lately. In the meantime, while that's been sort of taking its course, done a little bit, some changes, some preparations for things. We've been prepping for a lot of stuff for large class, which is, exciting. We got some things going on there, which I'm thrilled to be doing, and I'll talk about those throughout the show today. So that's the first thing. There's been, I'm kind of playing around with a lot of the technology in this stream and trying to get better at it. I'm thinking about adding another chapter to the YouTube channel on featuring individual artists in a very sort of micro kind of way, in a very sort of speedy kind of way. So that's exciting. So anyway, if you're out there and you're hanging out and drawing today, say hello. I'm not sure who will join us today. It's not a very nice day here on the East Coast. It's pouring rain here. So it's a good day to settle in, grab a cup of coffee, and maybe engage in some art this morning, which will be fun. I'm going to change the name of this particular Sunday stream. I'm going to actually change it to Studio Sunday instead of Sketchbook Sunday, because I'd like to start actually streaming in my studio and being able to work on things other than my sketchbook drawings, which is what I tend to feature here. So I think that that's something that will be good for all of us. So by next week, you will see that this has switched over to Studio Sunday. You're also going to hear my dog howling in the background because she can't get upstairs, but that's her problem. Anyway, let's throw a little bit of music on here. I want to make sure it's a good volume, though. I don't want to blow you guys out. So, let's see. Some cool things that have happened. You guys know that I love, but am not sponsored by, Blackwing, the pencil company, and that I enjoy using them. You see me talk about them. You see me show them off on the show. Oh, Malik. Dog is your assistant art director. You know what? She would be if she didn't eat everything. She'd be a good assistant art director if she wasn't constantly putting every single thing I own in her mouth. So, maybe. Maybe not. That's why her name is Maybe. Anyway, Blackwing. You guys know that I love the Blackwing pencil and that I use it a lot. I am subscribed to what is called their Volumes subscription. They come out with a limited edition pencil every quarter, and they ship you a box of them, and then they also ship you this incredibly nifty, let's see if I can get this to focus. Let's see if I can go to another camera and make this focus. So they ship you this incredibly nifty glass tube with a signature and a sample of that particular pencil that they're shipping that quarter. And this quarter, it was a tribute to Woody Guthrie. And so the pencil itself, which I will attempt to open here, pencil itself has a really nice wooden matte kind of finish to it. It's got a country road, some sky. It's volume number 223. I love this. I think this is a really nice piece. So anyway, for what it's worth, Blackwing Volumes, good stuff. Nice pencils, really nice pencils. These volumes tend to sell out. They're really just for, the subscriber end of things. So anyway, that is that. Not much else to tell in other news other than I've got a show coming up with these cabinet cards. May 1st and 2nd on the 100 and Art Tour. Everybody on the tour is going to be in that show. And I've got to get some of these together. There's Splonk 16. Hey, what's going on? Nice to see you. Thanks for watching today. That's really cool. So I've got to get some work together because number one, I had a friend, colleague, and collector out of the blue purchase a whole bunch of these cabinet cards, and they're gone. So what I thought I was just, and not that I'm complaining. I'm not complaining. But just when I thought that I was getting a nice collection of them together to have like a grid of them on the wall, a bunch of them decided to leave me, which I'm thrilled about. And I know that they're gonna have a great home in a collector's home that has really good taste. So, if you're watching and you know who you are, thank you. I don't want to put that name out there, but anyway, it's early on a Sunday morning. They're probably not watching anyway. All right. So what are we doing? We're gonna do some cabinet card work. We're gonna draw for a little bit. Let me know what you're working on, if anything. You could be folding laundry. You could be doing anything. Cleaning the house, hanging out, listening to the tunes. I've got some new tunes. That was the other thing I wanted to tell you. So all the time I've been on this show, I've been complaining about the absolutely horrible music choice that I had limited access to because of, the DMCA rules and not wanting to get shut down for playing licensed music. So I would go onto the YouTube free music library and download this really thin selection of meh music and put it on a loop track. And it seemed like in the 2 hours I was on, it was constantly repeating. And some of the tunes are awful. Instead, there's a couple of people out there in the YouTube world that, they make a living on their YouTube. And by a living, I mean a living better than every single one of us that's watching this channel. I'm going to bet that not a single one of you out there makes more money than this guy. It's not that it's about the money, but when one of your side gigs is paying $150K a month, because you got into the studio, you made a bunch of really cool, just simple, easy to listen to background music, like the piece you're hearing right now, and then you uploaded it to Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Music, because you realized that streamers need things to listen to, number one. And number two, when streamers listen to your music, they tend to play it for a very, very long time, which means that their tracks on those listening services get tons more airtime than someone like Nirvana or Radiohead or Lady Gaga, because when you play those people, you play their track one time and you cycle through an album and then you move on to somebody else. And so, but somebody like me, or especially someone like a gaming streamer who's on for 6 hours, they're just looping these babies over and over and over again. And so the airtime that those things are getting is just outrageous. And so, yeah, they're cleaning up on some of these music streaming services. And what do I get out of that? I get some okay music to listen to, better than what I had. And it also makes me kind of say to myself, okay, I understand basic chord progressions and how to break those down, throw in a drum beat. I don't want to be that guy who says my 4-year-old could do that. But Harris Heller, I like your music, okay? It does not take a musical genius to figure it out. And good job. That's all I'm going to say. Good job. I am not criticizing this in the slightest because, honestly, we needed good music to listen to, and this will do in a good way. I'm not saying it's mediocre at all. It's certainly leagues above what we had. All right. So I'll be quiet now and maybe try and see if we can draw something here. So I'm actually picking up in a spot close to where I left off before. Let's see what we got for cameras here. We got an overhead cam, desk cam, looking down. Been working on these. Some of these you've seen already. You've spotted them on Instagram. You've spotted them floating around either on my website. But need to get moving on these. I've got a few new ones prepped and ready to go also. So, I could start drawing on those. But let's do that. I want to work on her. She seems very, she's more of a country gal to me, I think, than a regal, sophisticated member of society. She seems like she's in her Sunday best. It might take me a little while to get back into the swing. I've been Been working on the other stream for quite some time, so let me talk about everything that's going on that, because that's some exciting stuff going down. So first and foremost, we have we are being partnered with by the Hunterdon Art Tour. We're teaming up with the Hunterdon Art Museum, and we're hosting their Friday night reception for the kickoff of the Hunterdon Art Tour. This is going to be a fairly large event. We've got 60 artists, 60 artists. And we're going to have them all in a Zoom meeting, and then we're going to be broadcasting that Zoom meeting over the Twitch channel. We'll introduce them all. You'll get to see their work hanging in the museum. And you get a taste of what's to come over the weekend for the tour itself. And you can decide, if you're out this way, if you are going on the tour, where you might be interested in stopping. And you can also, kind of get a taste of, what's going on in this local art scene. It's really exciting. I'm thrilled to be part of that. Terry and I are both thrilled. And, that Friday night looks to be a lot of fun. So, preparation to host 60 artists involves a lot, because I run all the tech. We also have to deal with the nuances of the show. It's like, well, how do you organize the content, the people that are going to be, actually on the show, all the talking points, the subject matter, the introductions, the backstories, all of that. And then, of course, there's the tech side of it. I don't have a production crew here. I'd like to, but I don't. So I've got to deal with 4 cameras, 4 microphones, mixing boards, computers, cables, lights, and consider how all that's going to go down. Now, this is something we've done a few times now. We've kind of helped host events like this, and it's kind of exciting. It's not kind of exciting, it's really exciting. Come to really enjoy it. I think we've added to these events, in a pretty robust way, which we're happy about. How's that music? Is that music too loud? Is it overwhelming my voice? If you're out there watching, let me know. Let me know if my music's too loud. Let's see. All right. Just getting situated here, moving some things around. Mixing up some paint. Let's see what we got for another camera view here for you. Maybe you can see. Okay, we're gonna put her inside of a vitrine here. Give her a little bit of space to breathe. I don't want to obscure her too much. I kind of like her presence, so I don't want to hide her. Some of these cabinet cards, you come across the personality, you spend some time with it, and you realize, yeah, we're gonna cover you up a little bit. And no offense to the former life that, these people are all long gone. No offense to them. But Sometimes you just... I'm going to push this pigment around a little bit so we expose a little bit of her face. Push some of this glass color back. And then I'm going to put... I'm not going to blot out my brush from the water. I'm actually just going to really saturate this a little bit so that the pigment has something to suspend it, to float around in. And it will soften the brush marks. It will soften some of the evidence that my brush was there. And that's not a bad thing that my brush was there. But given that I'm trying to emulate a kind of soft glass-like structure with possibly a gas inside of it, I want it to be softer, right? Oh, I see Jamie Foster liked the video on Facebook. She's out there. Nice to see you, Jamie, if you can hear me. Hope you're doing well. Hope you have better weather out there than we have here. We are gray and rainy. See, I like the way this kind of softens that glass a little bit. Oh yeah, she looks good. See how that pigment gets a little bit heavier behind her head, right? And if you think about it, in these regions back here, you'd be looking through essentially 2 layers of glass, where it enters and where it exits. And the space between, which is where she is, would have a little less of the blue effect. Get a little bit more back here. Plus, just by changing some of the contrasting tone around her face, dropping in a little more pigment, the value goes down, meaning it gets a little bit darker. That helps her to pop out a little bit more. There we go. She's looking good. I like this idea that this object that she's suspended in, other than being a glass vitrine on top, is somehow a planter or support system for her life. She becomes more plant-like than she is necessarily human because her head drops down into this space where there's some kind of subterranean form. It's pill-like. I like the pill-like form of the overall, ellipse. But I also want to have this kind of obvious, semi-obvious kind of earth tone. But I don't want to overdo it. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create like some root forms that are coming out from under this. Daryl Neimart, thanks for the follow. That's awesome. Sometimes the alert box kicks off my mic, so I had to scramble to get back online there. Thanks for that follow. So the other thing we're going to be doing on our Tuesday night stream that I just wanted to kind of chime in and talk about is on April 27th, we're going to be teaming up again with the Brownstone Art Gallery that's going to be having a show that opens very soon, featuring Michelle Mackey. Hey, thanks. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Just in terms of that sound cutting out, I think it's the combo of using my sound system with a Mac, because whenever I've got this thing hooked up to a PC laptop when I'm streaming on the road, that thing does not happen. And I know Macs seem to have a sound and Macs are like, they don't get along well all the time. Beautiful machines, I love them. I use them for almost everything. But when it comes to this, it's just not ideal. But anyway, Michelle Mackey is a painter that the Brownstone Art is going to be featuring. Great looking show coming up. And we're going to have a midway through the show, on April 27th, we're going to be hosting a virtual artist talk, and it's going to be on our show, on the large glass. ASMR Montana, hey! How's it going? Welcome. Yeah, we're going to be hosting that show on our large glass show, so that's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time with that. So if you're interested in learning about an interesting new painter, pop into that. Yeah, well, virtual talks used to sound awesome, Montana. But nowadays, after everything being virtual, get a little tired of it. Funny, sometimes these cards, you get to a certain point with these and you're like, do I scrap this? Does this one go? Because you just try to get a certain level of convincibility in some of these and it just doesn't do it. It doesn't do it. I do not know how switching it up and getting out there in the world and talking face to face in reference to your comment is going to go. And it's funny, I've been there. Like, I've already been out a little bit, not much. I found myself, like 2 sentences into a conversation and being like, not knowing what to say, feeling strange. I'm sure you've been there too. Hugging. I had a friend I hadn't seen in many, many, many years show up out of nowhere. He happened to be in my area, texted me, and he goes to give me this big bear hug, and I'm just like, not yet. Not ready for that. I just want to model this out a little bit with some blocky color, and then I'm going to come back in with a pencil line. See what I can do with that. Yeah, the elbow tap. Agreed. It's just not the same. Besides, science has told us human contact, human touch, it is important. It's It's important for us on chemical levels. It's important for us on emotional levels. The elbow tap is just not going to cut that. Exactly. Exactly. We'll get there. I'm confident we'll get there. We're gonna come back better than ever, I think, on many levels. I think we've learned to appreciate. I know I have. I've learned to appreciate a lot. I'm hoping to be preened by all of this, by someone when all of this is over. Malik Cleric, you'll hug me. All right, I like that. Thank you. I gotta say, Bump Cuddle, I'm hoping to be preened by someone. That's genius. Yes. That both makes me kind of think yes, and both makes me think, or as long as I have, full confidence that it's over, Yeah, preened. All right, this is getting a little bit better. Her area down here is better. I think once I pop in with a little bit of, I'm gonna grab some of those good pencils I've got eventually. Let's let her dry. She's kind of, this blue area up here is super wet. I want to dig into this dude who's wrapped up in his string ball. Let's see what we can do with him. He feels a little bit, he's floating. I don't like him floating. I want him to be kind of somehow attached to the ground. So I was thinking about either giving this some kind of structural leg or holder, or maybe a suspension off the top. Some kind of like, a hanger. Yeah, like that. All right, we're gonna go with a hanger. Let's see how that works. Bum Cuddle, thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. Welcome to the show. And ASMR Montana too. Awesome. See, the morning's getting sunnier. That moment you take one of those pieces you're working on and you feel really good about it, and you throw that line in there and you're like, oh no, did I just do the wrong thing? Now the great news about the gouache is if I do the wrong thing, I can always go back and white it out. Not white it out. What am I saying? Wash it away is what I was thinking. Because it's gouache. It just lifts right off. Bum Cuddles in Scotland, ASMR Montana in the UK. Now that's cool. How are things going over there? I'm gonna guess your weather is probably similar to what I have here today, but that's just a real guess. It is warm, oddly, but rainy and gray. How many cards are in this set? Well, Montana, I got to tell you, I've done more than 30 of these, but I was just saying earlier that one of the reasons I'm trying to make them today and get moving is I got a show coming up on May 1st, and I just had somebody purchase a bunch, and so all of a sudden I'm coming up a little short, so I've got to keep going. But right now, I've got 80 cards that I'm working on, so it's quite a bit. And the other thing is oftentimes, like, you can see my hand next to this card. You can kind of get an idea of the size. But there are ones that are considerably smaller, right? So this one gets a little bit smaller. And then ones like this get a lot smaller. So like this is, look at the size difference there. So, they vary in size. They take a differing amount of time to do. Those smaller ones, obviously not going to take as long. And the complexity too. It's like, well, what am I doing with it? Some of them I take, like this guy that's floating around in this seed pod. That took quite a while. Some of them take longer than others. There's this guy. Where's this guy? This guy's kind of cool. I love this guy. He's like just on the verge of sucking up a bunch of water, liquid, something. Now I want to give this dude a little bit of a attachment point. And I think this would be done. This guy will be finished not long after I get this in place. It's sunny and warm in Scotland. Well, bum cuddle, I'm on my way. Now, I got a Scotland story, actually, since you're here, and I'll throw it out there. I did a project, I did a sculpture piece when I was in graduate school years ago. This is going to be around 1999. It's a while back. And my father is a machinist, and so he makes things out of metal. And I grew up around spinning lathes and metalwork. And I did this piece because a friend of mine's younger brother did the whole message in a bottle, threw it in a river. And 4 months later, we get a letter back from somebody who lived, about 180, 200 miles away. And we were blown away. We were fascinated by that. And it was the dawn of, this makes me sound old. It was kind of the dawn of where everything was moving to, email. And so physical mail was kind of like taking a back seat. And so the letter in the bottle really fascinated me. So what I did was, through my father's machines and his help, I made these copper spheres that were about the size of a softball. And I engraved them. And they said, please mail this sphere to, and my last name and address. And then I went around to different locations and I threw them into the ocean in the hopes that they would travel. And one of those that I threw off of Cape Cod. Was it Cape Cod? It was Cape Cod. Cape Cod, Massachusetts, on the east coast of the United States. I threw it in while the tide was going out. And 14 months later, I got a letter from a retired police officer in Northwest Scotland. And he said, I have your sphere. I found it on the beach. And we exchanged letters, conversations. He sent me a map of exactly where he lived and where he found it. And then he sent me the sphere back because, I was hoping that people would return the spheres. And he did. And so I got to know through this random act, completely random act, I got to know this person in Scotland. Other ones, one turned up on the south shore of France, in the south of France. Others have traveled great distances, but those two, south of France and the one in Scotland, were just like the mind-numbingly amazing ones. So one day, yeah, I got to tell you, I never in a million years, I mean, my whole thing when I was throwing these metal objects into the water that had my name and address on them was, you know, over here in the United States, everybody's, you know, lawsuit happy, right? So I'm thinking to myself, geez, I'm throwing these metal spheres in the ocean with my name and address on them. What happens if they get sucked up into a ship's turbine system and ruins it, and I get charged all this money because I'm liable for that? Okay, that's a ridiculous thought, right? In the end, what did I wind up with? I wound up with this communication with someone, and it blew my mind. It was like one of the brightest moments in my making ever. It just felt so right. So one day I would love to get over there. I haven't spoken to him in a long time, but it'd be neat to go knock on his door and shake his hand. Actually, that would be a really good project to resurrect now. Northwest is way up north. I had a feeling, yeah, I remember seeing that on the map, actually, and if you look at the way the Gulf Stream moves from the east coast of the United States up and around past Iceland and Greenland, you could see how that would, you know, shape its course. I used to live and work on boats. We found a message in a bottle, fished it out of the water. Oh, that's cool. What did it say? I mean, and I think that's such a really appropriate way, especially now, while we're looking for, it was from an Italian with his address on it. Oh, that's brilliant. So I'm hoping that somebody wrote to this person. But I feel like now communication has gotten really easy. I mean, look at this. I'm sitting here, right, drawing on a screen, and I'm meeting people from around the world, which I love, right? And it's and I don't want to say that's easy. It's not necessarily easy, but it's certainly easier than it was 100 years ago, or even 30 years ago, for that matter. And there's something really cool in the physicality of the message in the bottle. Yeah, we messaged him. That's great. That's great. Because somehow, Montana, somehow there's a wonder in, number one, the find, right? Like when we encounter somebody on social media, there's no wonder in that. It's cool that we met somebody new, but the mechanism that's in place to meet that person is one that makes it easy, right? Postal pigeons, yeah, that would be awesome. I always actually wanted to keep those. But there's something about this idea that you randomly encountered somebody like that. Hear from Nurses for Art. Yes, bring back I know you're talking about the pigeons, I think. I would definitely be down with that. Send the raven. Roll up that tiny little scroll. Game of Thrones. Little reference there. All right, this guy feels very done to me. I like him. I might do a little more impasto gouache on this just to give it a thicker feeling. But I think he's good. Oh, no, you know, he needs one more thing. He needs one more thing. Ravens are actually brilliant creatures. Good morning from Delaware. Man, we're getting it from all over today. Hi, Mom. Nice to see you. Glad you're here. Hoping the weather in Delaware is good for you guys. Just giving this guy a little drop shadow. Make him feel like he's got a little bit of space there. Yeah, that works. Just need a little darker and we're good to go. Alec Cleric, good morning from the ER. You're doing a shift, huh? Well, hopefully things are quiet in the ER. Oh no, he's not physically in the ER as a patient. He's working, yes. Wow, that's really nice. You're watching the show from the ER. That's awesome. That makes me feel good. All right, this guy is done. I think he's gonna be a winner. It's got a nice. I got some good texture in that. Let's see if we can get in there. I got some good. It's not focusing well. Some decent texture in there. Thank you about the shadow, nurses. That's appreciate. Oh, Amanda Toolin's here too. Wow, we got a good crowd this morning. It's because I spent that week away. Glad you're here, Amanda. All right, let's get a new one out. I always thought that my dame in the bluish bubble here, the blue-green pill, had kind of a very country feel to her. She kind of looks like she's in her Sunday best, but she kind of, and I don't know why. Of course, I'm kind of making that up, but she feels like a country woman, and this one definitely does, doesn't she? Yeah, you're right. I know. Before and after pictures. And I haven't done a single one of those. So, all right. I'll start doing that. I really want to draw on her right now. And maybe the stream can function as my before and after, right? This is her before. And we have to figure out what we're going to do with her. I don't have a clue. I really love this wrapped guy, the string ball guy. I feel like I want to do a little bit more with that. I want to give her I like the way her head hovers in space and she disappears. Yeah, Montana, I think the same thing. I spend so much time with these. And, you know, I look at her downturned lips in the corners and I think, oh, you know, like what? It's a very practical kind of face, right? She looks like she's very sort of, you know, set in her ways, and she understands how to make life work for her. I would not want to mess with her either. She looked like she carried a stick, you know. Anyway, yeah, look at that. You can tell. I mean, especially if we go to, hold on, let me see if I can find a different one. Hang on. So, I love this one. She's got a much softer approach, you know. You know, she's not sucking her lips in over. Plus, she's younger, right? So she hasn't had the time to be affected by her environment like the older woman was. So, yeah, she's really intense gaze, exactly. But she also kind of is much more approachable. I feel like I could be much more comfortable approaching this woman than this one. Let's see if I have anything else to... Yeah, like this woman. She's a little faded. But this one is... She's got a bit of a smile to her, right? She's a little more hopeful. So, anyway, for what it's worth, I've got tons of these. Time before kids and after, and I think that just nailed it. Absolutely. Just nailed it. All right, what can we do with her? Let's get her... I think I'm going to put her in some kind of similar wrap. I remember once sitting in this incredible high back chair. It had this dome that you sat inside of. It was a really ominous feeling. And so I wonder if her little protective cocoon, and again, I'm just roughing this out right now. I'm going to paint all around this, but I'm just kind of getting a feel for how maybe she's got like a hood, right? I'm not going to make this one a glass one. I'm going to make this one like that high back chair. Let's work with that. That's what this whole series, Montana, that's what this whole series started as, right? So almost all of the beginning ones were on this order. And, you know, I'll grab some more. You know, I've got, so they were all domed, right? And I was actually trying to maybe get away from the dome a little bit because it felt like I might be overdoing the dome. This one's got like a flocking material on it. But the domes came in various shapes, sizes. This guy's got plants in his to help him breathe. So they kind of have this this either protective quality, this nurturing quality, this, you know, something like that. Oh, Kathy Nolte, good morning from Florida. I missed that completely. Sorry about that. I've got like 4 different chat windows going here at once, Kathy. So nice to see you. Thanks for watching. That's awesome. Yeah, so Montana, I was doing the whole dome thing and imagining these devices. And then the sculptor side of me, the side of me that, you know, went out there and made those copper spheres, the sculptor side of me wanted to try and make these domes. And then, weirdly, wear them out in the world. I mean, can you just try and imagine for a minute? A guy walks into your local hardware store wearing this. I think that could be quite a sight. Of course, getting a glass dome that big, glass ball that I could put my head in. Yeah, like a snow globe, exactly. Yeah. It's got its own weather. So. All right, let's get down to business with this. So wrapping this takes a ridiculous amount of time because, as you see, I'm just going to be basically painting in stroke by stroke. And as I layer and thicken, change direction, it's nice to have tube gouache for this because I like to get a nice thick wad of it on the end of the brush. New fashion. It's all connected. Copper sphere domes. Oh yeah, because the copper, I didn't even realize that. I just made the connection now, but that's that's a copper, like a support system, armature, collar, right? It's got that reflective kind of metallic feel. Nurses for Art says that would be cool to see in real life. Yeah, I think it would be cool insofar as, you know, I'm an artist and we're all here because we like this sort of thing. But I just wonder what the local guy who's there picking up a box of nails would think. And how it would, you know, I like to think about how art affects the world and the public. Be interesting to see what he would say. Probably wouldn't say anything. So Kathy, how are things in Florida? I'm a little bit jealous that you're probably a little warmer, a little sunnier. Oh, there's Chris Lambrix subscribing again. Thank you for that. We love that. I had a feeling the weather was beautiful, Kathy. Thank you for the sub. I love that. So eventually this string ball will start to look more like this string ball, right? But of course, I'm going to figure out a way to work that up over her head. I don't have that quite figured out yet. I'm just trying to think of whenever I draw and paint, I try to think about the physicality of actually making the thing in real life. And what are the steps in that? So in a string ball, you know, you're wrapping, you understand your material, you understand how there are little pockets of depth. And so you can apply that to your brush stroke. You can apply that to the way in which you handle your two-dimensional materials and hopefully get something similar. Uh-oh, Nurses for Art's going to unlock a trivia question. Art trivia. Oh my gosh, okay, we need an art trivia question. Thanks for that, Nurses. Let me think. Art trivia. Should we make it an art historical trivia question, or should we make it a current art trivia question? Something that's happening very, very now, or something from our art history Jansen 101 book? Because I could give you either one. Surprise us. Okay, surprise you. Let's see. All right, give me a minute. I don't like having a list of trivia at the ready. It seems, I don't know. Well, number one, it's very responsible, so I should have that. Let me come up with one. Okay. There's an interview, an on-camera interview with a very famous artist. The artist sat across from the person who was doing the interview, and the entire interview, all this artist did was snap pictures with the camera at the interviewer. Never answered a question, just sat there and just kept snapping pictures. It was a very, very strange experience. Who was the artist that did that? Oh, Nurses for Art. Yes, Warhol. Bam. Gosh, was it daddy? I mean, you're brilliant, number one. But I didn't think anyone would get that quickly. Yes, Andy Warhol. He's like that. He totally is. He just sat there in all his Warholness, just snapping those pictures. It was such a strange thing. Good job. Really good job. Now, I wonder if... So, number one, you unlocked the trivia question. Number two, you instantly answered it. I think we need another one. Right? I think we need to make that 1,000 points that you unlock that with worthwhile. So let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. Another art trivia or any trivia. It could be music trivia. Music is art, right? Thinking. I am thinking. All right, I've got one. Oh, I could do music too? Well, I just came up with one that's a little bit more art materials based. I remember once I gave you guys the trivia question of who invented black gesso. That was a fun one. All right, I've got another one for you. There are 3 basic ingredients used to make the graphite in a graphite pencil. Carbon is the first one. Water is the second one. What's the third one? 3 ingredients. If you've watched this show, you probably know the answer to this because I've talked about it in the past. So carbon, water, and a third thing. And these things combined and extruded create that little lead. We call it a lead, right? It's not real lead, right? And the answer to the question is not lead. It's carbon, water, and what? Now, of course, you have different grades of pencils. The 2B, the 4B, the 6B, the H's. Chris Lambrix says clay. Chris Lambrix, you are correct. Nurses for Arts is some kind of binding agent. And yes, clay is the binding agent. It is clay. So, good job on that. What happens if we take this view on the camera? Can we see better? That's a nice view. I like the other view too. All right. Thanks for unlocking the trivia. Heat. Well, no. And actually, that's a really, I like that answer because I think that heat is a very logical answer for this. So what happens is the clay, which is earthy to begin with, is mixed with the carbon, which is a really dangerous powder, honestly, because it's so fine. It creates, like as you're moving it around, you have to be protected. And then you add water. And what the water does is it loosens the clay. It sort of creates a paste with the clay and the carbon. And then the 3 get mixed together into what is essentially a slow-drying slurry. And then that's extruded like from a pipe almost, right? Now the heat is included. You are not incorrect, Montana, because then once those 3 things are extruded, heat is used to bake it. Right, so the clay is baked much like in a kiln, and it becomes a hardened pencil lead from that. So you're correct in that, like a cake, once you put all the ingredients in, has to be baked with heat. But we just needed that one final material in there to make it work. There's a very cool video that I showed on the show one week, not too long ago, from Faber-Castell on how they make their pencils. look that up one day. Faber-Castell's pencil manufacturing. It is gorgeous. Really beautifully shot. I'm checking to see if it was Faber-Castell or was it Derwent. No, it's Faber-Castell. Oh yeah, I would too. Go into Faber, that would be, I mean, you know, there's been a few places I have gone from an art material standpoint that have just stuck out like as being very memorable experiences, and I would love to go there and see that. I went to the Sennelier shop in Paris, which was just, oh my god, I could have spent all day in there, even though it was it's tiny. It's right across the street from the Louvre. As a matter of fact, this pencil sharpener, which is, you know, a German-made M&R pencil sharpener that you can pick up on Amazon. I mean, it's not like it's hard to find, but I bought this there. I've got other things I purchased there. I bought some pigments there. There's something about a love of materials and I mean well-made materials and the history that goes with them that I certainly connect with, and I try to instill that in my students when I'm teaching, is to not just let any material do. That doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money. It doesn't mean this is about, you know, being rich, but get the best ones you can, right? Yeah, she's starting to look. Imagine the smell. Is it in a real castle? I didn't know that. Oh, I gotta look that up. How did I not know that? I can't wait to see that. That's gonna be great. And thus the name, right? Yeah, the smell is probably incredible. I feel like, you know, some of these processes are sometimes more interesting or as interesting as the ones I engage in, right? It's like, oh yeah, I'm making a cabinet cart here, but imagine how this pencil was made. You know, that's like, oh, Cindy's here. I'm missing all the, hold on a minute. I am missing so many things. That lady looks like Robin Williams. Cindy, you are correct. That lady does look like Robin Williams. That's awesome. I'm missing so many different comments because I'm not paying. I'm drawing. Right? I'm in the middle. I'm in the zone. She does look a little like Robin Williams, huh? Yep, you nailed that one, Cindy. Okay. Yeah, I think these two had a, you can see these two in the kitchen together. Or out on the town. Or coming out of the chapel. Talking disapprovingly about somebody. Let's see now how to get, there's going to be a wrapped sense to this top, I think. Yeah, I think the Robin Williams comment cracked this one for me. I'm like, who does she remind me of? Who? That might have been it. think this is gonna work once I get it all hammered out here. It's a little awkward right now, but I kind of like what's happening. Now, of course, I'm gonna darken the region behind her so that she kind of looks like she's, oh, it'd be really neat to put a light bulb over her head. Some kind of little illumination source. Well, for those of you that are watching, this Tuesday night, on our Tuesday night show, The Large Glass, we have a really cool lineup. We've got two very interesting artists that we're going to present. We are looking at the world of artists that make art that also are machines. So, two really cool people we're going to talk about. And I normally only spoil this for you all that are watching on Sunday. Normally we don't spoil it. But we're going to be looking at the art of Theo Jansen and the art of Arthur Ganson. Not because they rhyme. That just happened to be that way. But two brilliant sculptors that Jansen will tell you that he's not making machines, that he's making creatures, that he's making actual beings. But some of you have seen this work already, but we're going to do a little compare contrast. We're going to talk about the functionality, the making. We're going to watch a couple of videos, see the work in action. Of course, hopefully have a lively chat around it and see what people have to offer up in the comments section. It should be a good show. Pure Patience. Hi, Gary. Boy, I've got some fantastic people showing up and watching today. Some I know and some are now new friends, and I'm really happy about that. Now, for those of you that are watching, that are part of my little family history summit group where we explore our ancestry, don't worry, none of these cabinet cards are of our ancestors. I could see myself getting in a lot of trouble for that. Well, it makes me feel good that you're all here. All right, we need to get... She looks like she's in a basket. It's not my intention to put her in a basket. Nobody puts Robin Williams in a basket. Okay, that had, let's see, how many references than that? Cooking a Sunday roast while lurking. That's great. Like I said before, I think I'm just going to head over to Montana and Bum Cuddle's place because, you know, if we go across the pond, we've got some better weather. Sounds like we've got some good company, and now we've got some good food. Yeah, I was about to make a reference there, Cindy. You just laughed at that, and I was like, all right, let's see. How many references do we have there? We've got Robin Williams, we've got Dirty Dancing, and we've got Silence of the Lambs. It puts the Robin Williams in the basket, or else it gets the hose again. It does this whenever it's told. I have to be careful about some of these. Sitting in a hotel room in the fog. Oh gosh, Mom, that's terrible. I have to be careful about some of my movie references, because if you don't get them, you're going to think I'm crazy. Thank you, Cindy. Yes, I am too. And, you know, my reluctance to multi-stream over a number of channels was, for those of you that are on Twitch and you can't see the other chat, I'm live streaming across 3 platforms right now. And so I'm getting a lot of texts and messages from the other platforms. Anyway, sorry for the confusion if you didn't realize that. Yeah, she's gonna look good when she is backed by this darker brown. Oh, you're on both chats? You're multitasking? That's good. We gotta make you a mod. Yep. Which bird is it that makes the nest? I think it's the Baltimore Oriole that has that kind of sock that they hang out in. I think it's a Baltimore Oriole. She kind of has this Baltimore Oriole kind of house here. Let's get in here and bring this up from the back. We'll darken this around the base area. Okay, that's getting better. I like that darkness. It's got a sepia tone to it, so it relates a little bit back to the photo. But then at the same time, sort of frames her nicely. Oh. Okay, so I think you're basically stating I was right. It is Baltimore Orioles. I seem to remember them making these these little sock balls that hang in the tree, and they nest inside of them almost like a little cozy, rather than sitting on top of the nest. There we go. Let's get in and draw in a little bit of some of this cast shadow from the wrapped material. Yeah, my bird watching skills and knowledge have kind of gone by the wayside in the last few years. I need to get back into that. Yeah, I would imagine having those would be... I would love to draw one of those. Oh my gosh, do you have any? Do you have any laying around? Oh yeah, you're not going to be... Unfortunately, I don't think in the live chat, Cindy, you can post a pic. It's It's a little bit of a tyrant when it comes to posting links and things. Yeah, then I am thinking of that one. I would love to get my hands on one of those and draw it. You guys have seen me on this show draw like different types of lichens and fungi and, mushrooms and things, which are fun and interesting things to look at. It is in here on the East Coast, it is morel season. So it's, I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for morels now. If I get one of those, you're going to see that on the show. Well, if I don't eat it first. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Definitely want one of those. No, she's looking good. Really? Are you going to say how many years ago that was? Because that's going to date both of us. Okay. But yes, that's all I did. I used to draw on the school bus, study hall, all the classes I was supposed to be studying in. That is all I did. Now, just an FYI on this, so you know, as you're watching this progress, I do go. So what I do is I lay down this shadow work on what essentially makes this string ball or wrapping thing, and then I go back over that again with more gouache because it just creates that kind of tangled layer feel. I mean, it's really doing, rather than trying to emulate a tangled ball, I'm physically making one, which is, you know, to me a much more sculptural approach than a painterly approach, if that makes sense. You know, it's the painter's job, I think, to kind of, I mean, unless they're working purely abstractly, but it's kind of the painter's job to make the paint become something else, right? And fool the eye and say, I'm an orange on a plate, or I'm a face. But in this case, I like the material to be sculptural in its feel and approach. 5 years ago, maybe. Thank you. You are now my new best friend. Yes, 5 years ago when we were in high school. Precisely. Wait a minute. My music stopped. What happened? Did that playlist end? How's that even possible? There we go. Well, I'll have these up on my website at some point. I have a bunch up there now. I do have to make, and this is one of the things I'm not procrastinating on, I just can't seem to slot the time for it. But I have to make a digital interactive space for this show, because that 100 and Art Tour event that these are going to be in, we're not only participating as artists, but we are going to be moving about with all of our streaming gear and streaming all the artists. So I'm not going to exactly have a space anybody can go to see these in a physical sense. So I have to make it virtual. So eventually you'll be able to see them in that capacity, which might just wind up being my website, but maybe a little bit more, I don't know, specific to the show. So we'll see how that looks. But that's still a couple weeks away, and I have time. Splunk. I don't use Spotify. I use Amazon Music, and I am playing the Stream Beats playlist that Harris Heller created. Now that is available on Spotify as well, but I'm currently using Amazon Music. All right, she's looking mighty fine. I think I want to get that space darkened back there. I've got this. Speaking of Faber, this is a graphite aquarelle. This is a really interesting pencil. So just a black pencil, but it is water soluble, right? So we can lay this down, and then when I go back in with the brush, it's going to break that up a little bit, push it around almost like a watercolor. But it's got a really nice, rich pigment sense to it. Do I know why they're called cabinet cards? All right, so my first response to that is going to be either A, you know, and you're going to tell me, and I'm going to give an answer that's just completely a guess, which I'm hoping is the case. I'm hoping you're able to tell me, but I think, you know, first of all, the card part is obvious, right? Yeah, I like the sepia too. If you look at this very closely, you can see that there is a very thin, like, let me see if I can get something that's better to point. So the card itself has the imprint and the embossed gold foil of the company that actually did it. But then right here, where you see the lighter surface, this is stuck on here. This is adhered, right? So this is the physical photographic print. This is the card. And of course, it takes what I think was too thin of a paper to really do anything practical with and puts it on a card. Now the cabinet part, I'm guessing, is that these were not framed early on and that they were placed maybe, you know, inside of like a cabinet of curiosities, or I'll turn it over to somebody who knows. Who knows why they're called cabinet cards? No, I don't know. I wish I did. All right, so that's my homework for next week. Now, the educator in me, the professor in me, says, Todd, it's really irresponsible of you to be working on something to this degree and not know the answer to that question. But I'm glad you brought it up. See, I like how this is really darkening the base area of that. It's really adding a kind of a sense of depth to her. And then, of course, we'll keep some of that sepia up top. All right, so the question is now, how is she suspended? No, don't be sorry. I think it's great. I mean, I've always sort of, look, every year I teach, I get a crop of students that is more and more and more sophisticated every single year, right? And so that is not to say I don't stay abreast of what I need to know and staying current, but there's only so much you can do. And you're always going to encounter somebody who has that question at the ready that is going to throw you off or stump you, and that's not a bad thing. What that is an opportunity. Well, depending on the teacher, some teachers get a little insecure and put off by that because they feel like, maybe their authority is being challenged, or they're embarrassed that they don't know something. But we can't know everything, number one. And number two, it's an opportunity to really, make it a moment where everybody can get together and learn about it, right? Plus, when you admit that you don't know something in that environment, that vulnerability makes you more real. It makes you more human. It gives you I think, at least for me in my teaching career, it has helped to develop a sense of trust with my students. They're like, he's not going to make something up just to save face, just to save his, what he's talking about. And I'm not. I have no interest in doing that. I'd much rather have that kind of, I don't know, let's check it out. And that's what the Tuesday night show is all about, right? Like, there have been so many times when somebody pulls a reference up, and says, oh, this reminds me of, whatever. And with that one hand you can't see me using off to the side, I'm hitting the keyboard and finding a reference and loading it into a slide so that we can see it. Because that's what it's about. I like humans most of the time, and I love vulnerability. Yeah. Vulnerability is good. Humans, well, that's a case-by-case basis, right? We're gonna stick some legs on her. Real simple, not trying to be anything sophisticated. Almost a cartoon. Cabinet cards were usually 4x6, perfect to be displayed in a cabinet. Yes, this is a 4x6, perfect to be displayed in a cabinet. I love it. That was my guess. I mean, and I'm not trying to say, see, I was right. I'm trying to say, it seems like these would be, I mean, I can imagine a glass cabinet with these all sort of stacked up against the back, right? I could see that. It might be nice to like have a, like if I had a show with these in it and I had a really beautiful Victorian cabinet to kind of have them all sort of spread out in there, not framed, just kind of doing their thing. As a matter of fact, I have framed a couple. Let me pull one down. You know, I put some of them in these inexpensive Amazon frames, right? And I don't know, I feel like they kind of lose something. There's a physicality to holding these things that I kind of like, and then you put them in the frame and all of a sudden they're just not the same. So I'm still debating whether or not they stay in frames or not. Bumcuddle says now she has legs and is mobile. She is even more terrifying. Yes, that's what I was hoping for. I can imagine the legs able to just sort of, you know, she can get about on them. Oh, I'm sorry, I pulled that off the screen. I had to get that really close to me to see that detail. Still looking over, I'm kind of taking a sideward glance at this one. I'm wondering what's next for her. I feel like there's some pencil work that needs to happen in here. just want to see if I can get, let me move my mic. I want to see if I can get some of this black, this aquarelle graphite that I put down in here. It feels too flat and dead to me. If we push it around with a little water, we might be able to just capitalize on a highlight here and there. Yeah, I like that. That's looking a little bit better. Excuse me. So, now we're kind of able to, with the water, and sort of spreading that pigment out a little bit, we're able to give her a little bit of a light shimmer up here over her head. Almost as if the light that comes into her little dome space catches behind her head, just enough. I'll probably adjust that 6 times before this thing is done, but for now, right, well, of course I feel like she needs just a touch more and we could have her finished. So I'm just going to keep going on her a little bit. Are nice. Also favorite, man, you'd think I was sponsored by this company with how many of these products I have, but I'm not. This is a Faber-Castell eraser. It's sharpenable, just like a pencil, which I love because I can really get that nice eraser point on there and then jump in and deal with some detail if I need to. So love these. They come 2 to a pack typically. I want to give her the standard issue drop shadow, give her a sense of place. Tie her to the ground a little bit. You know, it's funny, when I was in my undergrad and I focused primarily on painting in a fine arts degree that I did, one thing I struggled with, much to the dismay of my one painting professor, was figure-ground relationships. How the things I was painting sort of held the space. She was a figurative painter, very well-known one. Her name is Joan Semmel. And she used to really like rail me about this because I had this thing for this type of image, right? I really loved something floating in a blank space, right? And how it diffused out into nothing, right? Sometimes sat right up on top of nothing. But I wasn't interested in painterly landscapes at the time. I wasn't interested in, you know, foreground, middle ground, background relationships or traditional ways of establishing space, right? To me, I like those awkward situations. I like the way these people, many of these people in these cabinet cards are almost ghost-like. They're emerging from nothing. And that's so strange to me, right? So that in some way relates directly back to the fact that they're not here anymore and kind of has this really cool kind of connection. So then in here, what do? Well, I go into her and it gives me an opportunity, one, to sort of possess her. Like I take this person, I put her into what it is I'm thinking about. I attach her to a ground she wasn't normally otherwise attached to. And there's a transformation I think that takes place in that I've been thinking about a lot. And is larger than I had originally and, you know, sort of given it credit for, right? And I think that's what makes the image striking, is that it gets outside of its normal context. It leaves its kind of expected space, right? And I think to Bum Cuddle's point before about how she has legs and she's mobile and she's even more terrifying, yes, in a funny sort of way, yes, but then also in a real kind of like, you know, I can see that happening sort of way, right? It's like now I've attached her to reality. I've placed her from this nebulous, antique-y, sepia-toned, ethereal existence and brought her back into the world. It's a very lofty thing to say, and, you know, I'm not trying to be too wordy about this whole process, but it's something I think about. She's good. She's good. I like her. Thanks, Cindy. I appreciate that. I do want to get back to making sculpture in the studio, and it's one of the reasons why I'm going to change the name of the show to Studio Sunday instead of Sketchbook Sunday, because I would like to be able to set up at a table with cameras around maybe a piece of sculpture I'm working on and actually talk about that too, right? Because I feel like the sketchbook side of it is good, but it's also kind of limiting. So we'll see. And to think, that started out as Robin Williams' head. Yes, this was a very, very early take on Mrs. Doubtfire, right? These were concept photos from Mrs. Doubtfire. We'll just say it like that. It's kind of a funny thing to think about. All right, so here's the only part of this I have a problem with, and that is the transition point between this sock ball and her does not appear to have any kind of cast shadow. There's no depth here whatsoever, and to me that's kind of problematic. There's almost light shining on her, and that feels awkward to me. It feels wrong. So let's push her back a little bit. Maybe the Aquarelle water-based black here just to give a little... No. I'm going to go black wing and drop shadow smudge. Now some of this will inevitably get on the white itself, but I can work back over that, so this will be a process. See, now what you don't even realize you just did, Cindy, is you took that 5-year ago comment about when high school was and obliterated it without realizing it, because, I mean, unless you have some kind of deep nostalgia for shows that are, you know, couldn't possibly have been on TV when we were alive, which is also, you know, an argument that we could make here for why we know about Mork. Okay, so yeah, she's kind of at least now framed a little bit better. And then once I come back over this section with that white, we should have it. So let's do that. What brand paints are you using? Yeah, so the gouache that I have is this set here. It's Caran d'Ache. It's a really nice set. This comes in 2 sets of packaging. There's one for the European market, which is something you might see where you are, that looks different from this, but it is exactly the same. And then I've got the Caran d'Ache tube gouache, and I also believe I have a Derwent tube gouache, which I'm not using right now, but I do love these. So this is a really nice set, and I think for the size of the pans that are in here, I mean, this would last me for, gosh, 6-7 years. It's so, and I mean, it's a disaster right now because I let my 5-year-old use it when she wants to, but so, you know, please forgive the all overness, but this is a good size set for the price. So I'm highly recommend this. Let's go back to her. I have some Caran d'Ache watercolor pencils. I'm a big fan of Schmink Pit. Yeah, those are great. And the Caran d'Ache watercolor pencils, I would love to get my hands on those. That's on my want list. Schmink is, now I'm trying to think, is that the right pronunciation? Schminke? Schminke. Those are great. I remember a student of mine using those, and I really liked them. Do you like them? I mean, would you recommend those? I mean, you're saying you're a big fan of it, so you're already saying that. Read the chat, Todd. You'll ask fewer questions. Yeah, she feels a little bit more convincing now in the way that transition takes place, so I'm happy with this for now. I'll have to get her photographed and placed. Oh yes, they're amazing. I'm currently putting some Daniel Smith paints into pans while watching. Oh, nice. That's great. Yeah, I'm about ready to change up my watercolor, my little portable watercolor set. So I'm going to be looking to get something new there. First time I'm going to use them. Well, I'd love to, you know, if you're going to get out there and use those, pop in next week and report back, because I'd like to get some recommendations on some new stuff. All right, cool. She's looking good. All right, so we did all right today. We worked out this guy's final problem. He's finished and ready to go. I like him. She's still giving me trouble. My little pill pod environment here. I'm gonna work her out. Thanks. That would be good. I would appreciate the info on that. This one, got to keep working on her. Maybe I'll get her done before next week's show and bring her back on. And then, of course, the Robin Williams lookalike nested firmly in her little walking, terrifying thing. So, I think all in all, this was successful. I got to tell you, I am super happy about everybody that joined in today and hung out. New follows, some new friends. It's really cool. Hold on, let's go to another, because it's getting close to my time to head on out for the day. I love this time. I think it's super valuable, you know, being able to hang out with all of you. Let's see if we can see these a little bit better. Being able to hang out with all of you and, you know, work on this stuff. So I wonder if you can see the texture in this thing. I love how this stands up off the top of that card. That thick gouache on there. Can you see that? It's almost like string. It's just gorgeous. Don't leave us. Malik, you're still in the ER? Are you still working? And then this one. She needs a little bit more work. Remember what I said. I'm going to go back over that stringy work. Thanks, Bum Cuddle. I really appreciate that. I'm still got a long way to go. Jenny O Waves. Yes, looks great. Where did you come from? You haven't been in the chat at all. Nice to have you. So yeah, kind of gonna put it a few more hours on this one. Well, not a few more hours, but maybe another hour on this one. You know, give her some finalizing touches on that string ball, and that'll be that. So in the meantime, just to let you guys know, we are going to be having an awesome show on Tuesday night. So we're going to be featuring artists that make their art into or out of, or I should say their art is or becomes machines. And so this is super exciting, right? We've got this one guy, Theo Jansen, who is a brilliant maker of these kinetic sculptures that walk. And when you see them, it's just going to be, it's a really moving experience. And I don't mean that from a pun standpoint. I just realized I did that. This is the problem, you know, with, well, my humor's awful sometimes. Anyway, Theo Jansen is going to be one of our featured artists, and the other one is going to be Arthur Ganson. No connection to the rhyming words there, but two brilliant sculptors that use machines in the work. Kinetic works that are just fascinating things. So, yeah, haha, boom, boom. Yeah, you got that, huh? So, Jenny O Waves is sketching. Nice. I would love to have you back and, you know, to hang out. So definitely join next Sunday or come Tuesday and see our show, The Large Glass, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to talk about artists and awesome work. We'll see some videos. We'll chat. In the meantime, thanks to all of you. I really appreciate you hanging out. I value this time so much and your input and the things you say, and I love chatting with all of you. Thanks for all the new follows, the new subs. You guys are great. We'll see you back here next Sunday. Enjoy your day. Get out there and make something. And wait, I got some more messages. Amanda says, thank you. It's been fun. Thanks. From Bum Cuddle, thank you. Great show as usual from Mom. Thanks, Mom. I love your bias, and I appreciate having you as well. All right, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.